Council regular session agenda for Tuesday, February 13th here in the council chambers. Please join me and one of my fellow classmates from 1991 North Bend High School in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. Chris Swanson.
Thank you. To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Thank you, Chris.
You're welcome.
All right. Good evening. Good evening and welcome to our council meeting this night. We always like to welcome everybody here in the council chambers and of course, anybody who is watching online live at a later point. So thank you for participating in local governments. After calling the meeting to order, going through the Pledge of Allegiance, I'd like to have one addition to the agenda tonight. I had forwarded our city administrator some information that Operation Rebuild Hope is looking for a letter of support. And I would like to add that to the agenda to talk to the council about. Is there any questions about that?
You want to give a summary about what that is?
Oh, would you like summary now, or would you like it under when we have the agenda item? Or would you like?
It could be at the agenda item.
Yeah.
So we'll put that under other
Other
business?
business.
Okay, thank you. And then we'll go over the summary then. All right. Number 2 on the item is the consent calendar. Do I have a motion from the council?
I move that we accept the consent calendar as presented.
Second.
Had a first from Councilor Gall and a second from Councilor Schultz. Is there any discussion? All in favor of the consent calendar being accepted as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Number 3 on the agenda tonight is public comment. I think we have several in person, and then is there any online? Okay, all right. Well, I want to make sure that we say welcome and thank you for participating in public comment this evening. The public comment period is an essential part of local government meetings. Each person has 3 minutes to speak. Our city recorder will be timing that, and our governing body takes the input into consideration. However, in observance of Oregon open meeting laws, this isn't a time of dialogue, but rather a time for us to listen to you. Our city administrator and city recorder are taking any notes of any action as needed. Also, I do like to remind everybody that we do have council rules that require all members of the public are expected to follow the same rules of professionalism and decorum as required by the council itself. And typically our public comment period goes for about 30 minutes. If there's any group of 3 or more persons sharing a common viewpoint on any subject wishes to address the council during the time for public comment for items not on the agenda, the group then is encouraged to select a spokesperson who is encouraged to present the views of the group of the council. So we'll go ahead and begin. So when I call your name, if you could come up, there's a chair, there's a microphone right there. And again, our city recorder will be timing once you speak. So our first item on the agenda, or the first person for public comment, I have a Rob Taylor. Rob Taylor, are you here? All right. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening, Mayor. Rob Taylor from Bandon, Oregon.
Okay.
Agenda item 4, I believe, has to do with the Devereaux Center, the money that's going to the Devereaux Center. I'm personally not a big fan of the Devereaux Center, and I'll tell you the only reason I'm here is because I was asked to be here by someone who's a good friend of mine, and I wouldn't have come otherwise because I know that ordinance, really, it doesn't matter whether you pass it or not. And here's why. You've got a homeless committee that was created through legislation that was given, that they gave the choice from that legislation to our commissioners. I told the commissioners not to create this homeless commission. You can talk to Rod Taylor about it. He's right in the back. And I told him that this is going to be a problem because it's going to interfere with government on the city level and on the committee, on the commissioners level. And it has. And I didn't want that to happen, and that's why I was opposed to it. But that's the only way we could actually get money from the state for some of the homeless problems that have been created by the state itself. Probably most of it has been created through the state, through the lawlessness that has been created through the legislation that has been passed up in Salem. This is not a problem of drugs, this is a problem of lawlessness. And they know it's a problem of lawlessness. SB 2001, SB 5019 were two bills that people should have been watching in the 2023 session. SB 2001 created the homeless industrial complex, which we are now starting to live with at this point in time. I forget which bill created the committees for the homeless, but I do know that HB 5019 gave the $220 million to the governor so that she could put it in the state's homeless committee so that they could disperse to the cities and the counties. And that's what you're doing tonight. The only reason I would be for this bill, and I am for it, and I recommend you highly pass it, and it's not because I like the Devereaux Center, and it's certainly not because I like the homelessness and the lawlessness that has been created. It's because in the bill itself, I've noticed you have created stipulations to put controls on the Devereaux Center that were not there before. And in fact, I would argue to anyone who's arguing against this bill passing, they should realize that this may be the only way we can get rid of people like Tara Johnson, who's completely incompetent at her job, and get rid of the board on the Devereaux Center, because the city of Coos Bay has created a partnership with the Devereaux Center via the homeless committee. So this is how you get your hands in the door. I don't like it. I don't like the way it's structured. I don't like the county commission approving it, but I have to accept it. And so I would highly recommend that every single one of you vote for this bill to pass it so we can put these stipulations on the Devereaux Center and make sure that they're not doing what they're doing now, which is utter lawlessness. And otherwise, I would close the whole damn thing down if I had my way.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Yeah, is that, the next on the list for public comment is Chris Castleman. Hi, Chris, welcome.
I'm Chris Castleman. I do not live in North Bend. I'm here to address the issue of censorship. The past week has shown us that the city of North Bend's leaders tried to rush the Devereaux Center project, the expansion project, through without really consulting with people in that neighborhood that it will be affected, or the citizens who pay their taxes to that city. And it's come upon you guys to feel the heat from that. Most of you were here. The mayor wasn't here yesterday. But most of you are here to see the crowd that was gathered to discuss the Devereaux Center, and they were pretty upset. Why would they show up to a North Bend meeting about a Coos Bay issue? Well, because Coos Bay didn't give them the time of day. They tricked them. They told them that it was maybe going to happen, maybe going to happen. Oh, wait, it's approved. Wow, that was really quick. And this guy over here is the puppet master. He's the guy who approved or applied for the grant and got North Bend to be the fiscal agent so that you guys could be sitting here tonight voting on it. And he did that as a way to make it really weird and confusing for citizens to understand the process. And he fucked us. So thank you, David Milliron. And that's why I'm here tonight, to try and figure out if there's anything you guys can do to deal with him, because he's a problem. He's been a problem in the past. He's going to be a problem in the future unless it's addressed. And I know you don't like me talking about city employees, but it's an issue. So that's why I'm here. I actually disagree with Rob Taylor. I'm sorry. He wants to have you guys vote yes. And I understand that. It's actually the city of North Bend, right? Let's move the Devereaux Center further away from North Bend. That actually is a good thing for your citizens. It's a great thing. Having more control over Tara Johnson, wonderful thing. Having new leadership, new direction for that organization would be awesome, but more government control over private organizations is absolutely not the answer. That's not what you do. You don't give a poorly run, crappy organization $3.5 million and say, hey, we hope it gets better. You don't do that. Unfortunately, in a weird pickle, you guys have the vote on that tonight. You're probably gonna vote yes. I really wish you wouldn't. I really wish you would table it. I mentioned that last night. You can table this discussion. You can table it for another week. Or two. I think you guys meet again in 2 weeks. That would be the smart thing to do. It'd be the right thing to do. I hope you do it. I've spoken to some of you privately. It's in your hands, but this guy needs to be dealt with because he's a problem. Thank you.
All right, next list on this is John Chappleman. Chaplin, John Chaplin. Is John here? Hi, John, welcome. We do have, our city recorder is here and we'll start timing once you begin speaking. And I believe she has a timer that goes off when you hit 3, right? Okay.
I wasn't actually planning to come back here tonight, but when I watched the end of the meeting last night, David Milliron stated inaccurately that the move to Empire to Inglewood was discussed at the Egyptian Town Hall meeting. I'm going to give David the benefit of the doubt that he didn't actually watch the video Matt Wilbanks shared, and his inaccuracy was not intentional, but Stephanie ran with this inaccuracy in order to make it appear the city has been transparent, invoked my name and stating that the mayor had explained it all to me and that I had in conversation and told the public at the Egyptian meeting. What I shared at the Egyptian was that the mayor told me that the Deborah was moving from Empire and he didn't indicate to where. He wouldn't tell me. Minor yet very significant differences in the stories told last night from what really happened. Other than my sharing that news, nothing much was discussed that night about the move because no one really had any facts. Jenny was there. There's a video. I'm telling the truth. It wasn't until a week or so later I called my friend Luis and asked him to tell me if the rumors were true that he sold the Lockhart building to the city. Luis confirmed this and said the negotiations were done, but he hadn't been paid yet. He even told me the sale price, which is consistent with what we now know. So when we were told by Nicole last night that they had to be a little hushed to negotiate, this too was an embellishment, as the negotiations with Luis have long since been over since early last fall, but they are still having private meetings up until now. Our leaders are telling us half truths to be kind in order to justify making this deal on the quiet. Don't believe them. So there's that. I wanted you council to know that what you were presented last night at the end of the meeting was not accurate. Furthermore, anyone watching the meeting of the homeless task force from last Friday who didn't know this before should now fully understand that Tara is the problem. My mom, rest her soul, used to tell us kids, wherever you go, there you are. The problem is just never going to move across town. It's Tara. In my opinion, the city is putting itself in a bind, hitching their wagon at Tara, and it's going to be burnt. She has no intention of following any rules the city stipulates in this deal and will end up a mess and fast. This was clear by her calling concerned citizens 1,000 screaming children and demanding control, and her volatile reactions screeching to David Milliron, speaking the truth about the sanitation over there. Her outfit has long needed intervention from health and safety authorities. So this begs the question, why do we expect the city of Coos Bay to be any more diligent at the new location than they've been with the Empire one as far as these concerns go? They will have much to lose if this new arrangement fails, and a logical person would expect them to be even more lenient in their self-interest. Something about insanity and doing the same thing, expecting different results. We hope Tara's going to do different. She's not. In my opinion, the number one stipulation that needs to be made to move forward with this is for Tara to step down and be replaced. I can actually see this facility as a huge positive for the community with new management and more realistic leadership from the city. I just got a little more. Can I finish?
Yeah.
The city of Coos Bay is setting itself up for a hard lesson about sleeping with dogs and getting fleas. And lastly, David said last night that if you vote no, then it'll go through anyway, so there's no point. Okay, well, let's see. Because there is a point. The point is later when it turns to shit, you can look your constituents in the eyes and tell them, we said no. So if it's just going to be like David says, just going to breeze right through, say no and let the chips fall. At least you're on the record that you didn't think it was a good idea. Thank you.
Thank you. Right. We have next up is Rod Taylor from Bandon, Oregon. Rod, if you want to go ahead and come forward, we'll go ahead and begin the 3-minute timer as soon as you begin speaking. Thank you.
Great.
Are you here tonight representing the commission or the county?
Well, Not officially. This is just my own personal comments.
As a resident of Bandon.
Well, I mean, obviously, everybody in the room probably knows that I am a county commissioner, and so my views do carry weight as such in that regard. But tonight, I don't speak for the Board of Commissioners.
Okay, thank you for
All right.
making that clear.
Good evening, Mayor.
Mhm.
Counselors, it's nice to see you all. No one here? Good evening. First, I just wanted to weigh in a little bit on this Devereaux Center issue. The Devereaux Center as a service facility does provide a valuable function to the people who utilize those services and the ones who legitimately need them and desire them. As we all know, there are plenty of people, a significant portion of that population that is self-determined to stay in that lifestyle, and they are leeches on our society that really are not going to help us advance the causes of our communities. That being said, there have been problems that I think we can all acknowledge with the Devereaux Center, many of them documented, observed, even by myself. But I appreciate that there is some expressed intention to increase the control and the acceptability of, or the acceptable operations of the Devereaux Center, things like prostitution and drug dealing in the parking lot that, you know, we all know about. We've seen it. I've seen it. We have got to make sure that what we're doing in the pursuit of this, serving this part of the community, this homeless community, we have got to do something that is really functionally effective and not just feed into a perpetuation and a facilitation of this lifestyle. We have got a fabulous facility in North Coos County. It's called Shutter Creek. And I believe that a community of the cities and the county coming together, and perhaps even with outreach to other communities to take advantage of a facility like that, we could pool our resources, utilize Shutter Creek as a facility to provide all of the services that are needed for those individuals who want that, who want to break out of that lifestyle, and who want to move forward in society and be productive members of society. The rest, we should not be coddling. And I think that we can all agree on that. This move is probably going to happen. Rob made reference to the vote that we made as a commission. And not every vote is a vote that you would do the same
Thank
the
you.
next time. So I hope you consider that all as you make your decision tonight. Thank you.
Next up for public comment is Lori Winger. Lori, come on up. We've got our chair and mic there for you, and the 3-minute timer will begin when you begin speaking.
Thank you for the opportunity. I do live in North Bend. I do want to state that I'm unequivocally opposed to the city of North Bend's participation in the proposed relocation of the Devereaux Center to Lockhart and Coos Bay for the following reasons. Number one, the Devereaux Center has failed to provide services as outlined in its own mission and vision statement. If you review that, you will see that the mission statement doesn't supply any measurable outcomes or goals. I believe that lack of mission and vision has resulted in the failure that we see now when we drive through Empire. Second of all, the current plan does not address the infrastructure of our current healthcare system, nor has consideration been placed on what increasing the homeless population will do to our healthcare system. I'm sure many of you either have or know people who have received letters from providers who are leaving the area. So we have a stressed healthcare system. The impact needs to be examined and considered. Also, I haven't seen any environmental impact issues or studies done on the relocation. My concerns about the building and disposal of sewage in a flood zone, coupled with what I see now of RVs draining their raw sewage onto the street, is going to result in something like a cholera outbreak. I mean, we're looking at developing country problems in a developed country. I do understand that grant monies must be used or lost. Therefore, I would encourage North Bend City Council and Mayor to take a proactive approach to homelessness by prevention. I ask that you consider subsidizing rent to those who are already housed and living below the poverty level. I ask that you would consider reducing or subsidizing property tax to those over 65 years old, preventing homelessness, being proactive. Currently too, just a little research that September 23rd of 23, and then including the $1.1 billion of Medicare monies that will be funneled into Oregon by the end of the spring, we're looking at $3 billion available to address homelessness. I read that the counts were like 18 to 19,000 homeless in the state of Oregon. That's $22 million per homeless individual. So there's, just think about that. It's mind-boggling. And so again, I'm opposed to this. I'm opposed to North Bend's participation, and I encourage a proactive wellness approach to our community. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next for public comment, we have Drew Farmer. Drew, thank you for participating in public comment tonight. I know you were on the county. I think we should probably also make that clear because Commissioner Taylor was speaking earlier. The county is also part of the homeless task force.
Yes.
You are on that homeless task force and also a council member.
City councilor. Yep.
What hat are you wearing here tonight? Who are you?
Just my own. My background, of course, in nonprofits is fairly extensive. I've never been directly affiliated.
Are you beginning? I just want to make sure she started.
I was just clarifying.
Okay, yeah.
I'm sorry.
That's
But
okay.
Just clarifying.
So you're here as a citizen
Yep.
of Coos Bay?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So I'll run through quick. Obviously, there's a lot that could be covered, and I'm happy to talk to anybody at greater length thereafter. The primary issue here tonight is, of course, for North Bend, not related to Coos Bay, so I'll cover North Bend. Benefits that North Bend receives are the same benefits that the other 6 cities in Coos County receive. When Coos Bay steps up and has this program, the other 6 cities have the ability to forward challenge citizens to this program, to the Devereaux Center. So it's a very obvious benefit to North Bend is you don't have to have a Devereaux Center if we have a Devereaux Center. That lowers your on the street homelessness count. And there's a component I think that got lost a long time ago in the conversation because it's never really been something we saw as a possibility. However, when the regulations came out saying that you cannot move people off of public spaces, you cannot move them off of streets, there was a category in there that stated if you have adequate shelter beds, you can police public spaces. So as we progress this effort, as we see growth in this, we do approach an opportunity where we can do something about the streets in the middle of the side or the tents in the middle of the sidewalks. We can do something about the people you see just out and about and in states of disarray. Obviously, we have an issue with the mental health system in Oregon. I've pushed on that. We've got a lawsuit going right now against the Oregon Health Authority for their failure through the Oregon State Hospital. But that's a much bigger game we can't address through this. There's a lot of issues folks have with Terra, and having run 2 nonprofits, I want to make sure it's understood the director of a nonprofit does not own the nonprofit. No one owns a nonprofit once it's created. The director is always somebody that can come and go, and we should always have our plans in place. Several years ago, I got very sick. I almost died. I was the director of Bay Area Enterprises at the time, and because of that, succession became very important to me. But this highlights the potential and the reminder that we are talking about the Devereaux Center as a program. And regardless of who the director is, the location of the Devereaux Center, if it is ideal, facilitates potential down the road. And that's the thing, circling back real quick. Yeah, just to say, talk a little bit about my personal work and such. This is not
an easy decision to make because it is not an ideal situation. The Devereaux Center is triage. It is where we sort out who we can move forward and who we can't. It's where Coos Health and Wellness goes each week. It's where I send my supported employment providers. That's been my field. I've been on the tail end of homelessness. I've been on the side where you get them jobs, get them on their own again. And just to say, helping people, trying to abate human suffering is one of the most challenging things we do. I've been on the verge of death. Dying's easy, hurting people's easy, trying to help people, very difficult.
Thank you. Okay, I have Amy Manuel. Did I say it correctly? Amy? Manuel. All right, please come forward. We've got a chair, the mic, and our city recorder will begin your 3 minutes when you're ready.
Yeah, my name is Amy. I'm the superintendent of the Inglewood Diking District in Coos Bay. I'm here on my own tonight, not representing them, but a lot of people in Inglewood stand behind me with this. I will first reference what Mr. Farmer said, and yeah, she is just the director, but she does pocket money from doing that, and she will not just walk away. We're talking about Tara. So I continue to have a problem with Devereaux and how it's operated. And I do not believe if she's moved that she will follow any of the rules, because she can't follow the only rules she has now. It was brought to her attention she wasn't following the rules some time ago, and she just decided to take them off of her website and continue to not follow them. If you drive there in the evening times, after dark especially, you will see people in every business and every corner around that area piling up in sleeping bags and tents and just throwing their garbage everywhere. The neighbors are complaining. And what problem I have with it is not specifically only them, even if the rules are improved, but homeless people that don't really want that help tend to hang around the other homeless people where they're at. So they accumulate in that area, whether they're in the shelter or not. And we have a bridge at 101 that sits there that goes over the Coal Bank Slough. Well, Leon Posey, 45-year-old male, fell in the water there. And there's a railroad bridge. You can't get under it anymore because the Port of Coos Bay put it in illegally. They didn't notify us and made us a non-navigable waterway. So when they did that and the sheriff went to launch a boat to do rescue for this guy when he disappeared, they couldn't get under the bridge, so they just gave it up. They didn't really care. Guess because the guy was dead, he wasn't worth anything. He floated in our water from either the 15th or 16th until the 19th when he washed up on our back deck. How many alcoholics, how many drunks, how many drug addicts are going to be hanging out underneath that bridge? How many are going to fall in, and how many am I going to find stuck in my tide gate or in my water that no one cares about? We do not need the Devereaux in that area. We do not need homeless accumulating around in the area. I am 100% for people getting help, but a lot of these people don't want help. And you mix drugs and alcohol and slough mud, you're going to end up with some dead homeless people. They're going to fall in, they're going to go over that bridge to get protection from rain, and we're going to have this problem. And the city of Coos Bay knew he was floating around in there and never said a word to any of us. Not one person with a flashlight was on my dock that night.
Thank you.
So please do something, move them to Shutter Creek, whatever. Do not approve this. Table the money.
All right, the next public comment that I have is, I have a written public comment from Matthew Vendors, and that's for us just to keep. Okay, all right, then that concludes our public comment portion of the meeting.
Can we get one more? I didn't.
And,
actually plan on speaking.
Can you fill out a form real quick? Yep, if you can go ahead and fill out a form, we'll go ahead and take one last public comment, and then we will move on to item number 4. So I think I have one coming up.
Let's get it there, and then they were gonna fix it around, but they-
Okay. Doing pretty good here. Got one last public comment to fit in here, and this is from Harry Holman.
Yeah.
Harry, thank you for speaking. We have our city recorder to start our timer when you begin.
I didn't plan on speaking tonight because I knew everybody would cover everything that needed to be said, but Dirk Farmer decided to say a couple statements. He admitted that if we had a bigger facility, that we would ship more homeless in here. That means we will have a bigger problem to deal with. He also stated that adding 32 plus 5 beds for the elderly would make it, he hinted at the fact that it might make it where we could stiffen up our camping laws. That's a flat out lie. That cannot happen. 37 beds added, we have way more homeless on the streets than that. So do not listen to those lies. It is that I don't know why somebody would come up here and flat out lie to you about the potential of changing our laws because of 37 beds. You know, all these people that are pushing for the Devereaux, they're all lying to us. And they're lying to you guys. And this is wrong. Why should they have to lie to you in order for you to pass something? This is unacceptable. And I can't believe you guys are allowing these lies to happen.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, moving down on the agenda, number 4 is ordinance 2073, amending the North Bend City Code, chapter 2.24. I do want to make a comment because last night during the work session, when you went through everything and the public comment, I was able to listen on Zoom the whole time. So I was able to get all the information from the work session, including the public comments. So I did hear the discussion on these items. So is there a motion from the council on item 4?
I move to adopt ordinance 2073 to amend North Bend
Madam
City
Mayor,
Code.
ordinance, so you have to take your script.
The scripts.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. All right. So, well, I'll go ahead and back it up just a little bit here. I see our city attorney, Robert Schultz, and I were trying to be efficient here. Thank you, Mr. Wolf. I see you online as well. So as we go into ordinance 2073, this is the ordinance of the North Bend, of City of North Bend, amending North Bend City Code, chapter 2.24, emergency code. I will now ask the staff to give a report. And so is that coming from what staff member will be giving the report?
Fire chief.
All right, so our fire chief, come on down. You're familiar with the mic and the chair?
Yep. So we put a lot of time into the city emergency code. It hasn't been addressed and updated since 2002. Some of the minor changes that are in there, at time, the responsibility of the emergency manager went to the police chief. When Chief McCullough came in and took over as police chief, his second day, he came in and sat down and says, this is not for the police department to be dealing with, it's the fire department. And I concurred with him and Mr. Miller and myself, the police, we got together and we've been working on this emergency code to update the one from 2002 for quite some time. And we've reached a good positive code going forward.
Okay, all right. I'll now entertain a motion to have the first reading be by title only.
I move to have the first reading read by title only. Second.
Okay, I heard a first and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor of the reading be by first title only? Oh, the first reading be by title only, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. That would be attorney.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and City Council. Ordinance number 2073, an ordinance of the City of North Bend, amending North Bend City Code, Chapter 2.24, Emergency Code.
Okay.
Be by title only. Second.
Okay, I heard a first and a second for the second reading to be by title of 2073 to be by title only. Is there any discussion? All in favor of the second reading to be by title only, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Ordinance number 2073, an ordinance of the City of North Bend, amending North Bend City Code, Chapter 2.24, Emergency Code.
Okay. And so I believe to our attorney, this would now take us to the spot where we would be entertaining a motion to adopt ordinance 2073, or is there any further?
That would be appropriate. Yes, Mayor.
Okay.
Try this again.
So I will now entertain a motion to adopt ordinance 2073.
I move to adopt ordinance number 2073 to amend North Bend City Code, chapter 2.24, emergency code.
Second.
I heard a first from Counselor Schultz, a second from Counselor Garboden. Any discussion? All in, okay,
Phone call.
We roll-
I'm gonna,
Madam Mayor, just for the record,
Yeah.
that was Counselor Pat Gall,
what did I call him?
second.
Oh, see what happens when you miss. Okay, so I heard a
So-
second
so
from
you got it
Counselor
good.
Gall.
You got it first,
Yes.
got a second, you're good.
And now we'll do roll call vote.
Yes.
Okay, so City Recorder, I'll have you take the roll call vote.
Counselor Jones? In favor of adopting the emergency management code.
Counselor Hamilton,
For the code.
Counselor Garwood,
For the ordinance.
Mayor Abelke,
For the ordinance,
Counselor Gall,
For the ordinance.
Counselor Schultz,
For the ordinance.
Counselor Nora. For the ordinance. Thank you.
okay, so we are concluding,
Now you have to vote.
okay. I did personally
You did.
already as well. She recalled my, yeah.
All right.
So we are good and the ordinance is adopted, or we'll continue the process of all the next steps.
Good.
Number 5 is an intergovernmental agreement, and is there a motion from the council? This is number 5.
I'll make a motion to authorize the city administrator to execute an intergovernmental agreement with the city of Coos Bay for its first order number P/2 running necessary in rehouse and like service by people with creative homelessness.
Heard it first from Counselor Garboden. Is there a second? Second from Counselor Jones. Is there any discussion?
Yeah. I appreciate everybody coming in tonight, and voicing their opinion on this. I know a lot of you out there, and this, I've kind of followed this Devereaux thing for a while. After watching the meeting and talking with many people, nobody here wants to see the Devereaux Center continue like it is. So you either do nothing or you do something. So doing nothing, it stays the way it is. And show of hands, who wants to see it stay the way it is? Nobody. So we have to do something. Underneath the housing committee's meeting, there was stipulations to this money, which means that clearly defined ground rules and operation rules for the endeavors, which means there's going to be some control over this. They're not moving the center, and it's going to be the same. What I've been told, like somebody said that they've been lied to. I don't like being lied to either. So what I've been informed is that there's gonna be a fence around this. There's gonna be 24-hour security. People are not gonna be able to sit and mingle in front of it. This is on Coos Bay, North Bend. And I know you guys are sick of hearing it and you've heard it, but we are just the pass through to this deal. Somebody made a comment about the number of beds. I happen to have some notes and some figures that I believe are not lies or disinformation. It's correct information. So, Benton County, they got $2.4 million for 50 shelter beds. Blackstock County, $3.8 million for 80 beds. Columbia County, they almost got $1 million for 20. This is mandated through the state that there's money to be used to do this. Douglas County, $1.4 million for 34 households. So this is, I mean, I got all kinds of counties here. This is happening statewide. I don't like it as much as you folks, but if we don't do something different, that doesn't change. And I believe with Coos Bay getting involved, and I know everybody here has been to a Coos Bay City Council meeting, and either witness people talking to the council, but I feel that there's gonna be a change in this, and everybody I've talked to, as long as I'm not being lied to, and you all aren't being lied to, that this could be a good thing, and there are gonna be people held accountable for what happens here. So us in North Bend,
3 feet underwater.
It's not a
where's that
time.
gonna put 'em?
It's not a time for us
It's
to
in a
engage.
flood zone,
that's,
and it has been 3 feet
So-
underwater.
and as far
Our
as.
public comment is
and-
over,
and
sorry.
As far as I know, even though they get this money, it's not a done deal yet. There's still a lot of hoops to jump through to finish this deal. So it's not a done deal yet. But it is what it is, and that's my comment on this in my discussion.
Thank you, Counselor Hamilton. I think Counselor Jones, did I see your hand?
Yeah,
And just remember the mic because it's kind of hard to hear sometimes.
okay,
Okay.
you know, if I blast out too much.
Yeah.
So, I'm in complete agreement with, Counselor Hamilton. There's some information that most of us didn't have, including myself, until I watched the, homeless advisory meeting that just happened on February 9th. And the agreement for this money, there's a line here. There's a line here. North Bend carries the fiduciary part, and this is what we're agreeing to. So there's a separation here. We're agreeing to an intergovernmental agreement, right? So we're off to the side. However, the Homeless Advisory Committee has stipulations around this money that are at their spirit and in their letter addressing the concerns of the criminal behavior, of the security problems. And we have to do that. You know, we want liberty and justice for all, right? That's what we're all pledging our allegiance to. This is what we all find valuable, and none of us want to enable others, but we also have this balance of Christian values and compassion, right? So this is where the rubber hits the road. So if you listen to, and perhaps our city administrator would be willing to speak a little bit to this, but in that meeting, there are stipulations for this money to go as stated there, and it has to do with the Devereaux Center, you know, upholding its own code of behavior that it expects on its participants. Anyway, David, do you have a few words about what those I'm speaking to when you said stipulation 1, there's an agreement between the city of Coos Bay and the Devereaux Center with ground rules, operating rules, very much like the Salvation Army has with its facility in Spokane. Perhaps you could speak to that.
So that meeting is available online for anyone to watch the video. What I'd like to do, Madam Councilor, is actually hone in on the agreement that North Bend and Coos Bay are entering into. This has been reviewed by the city attorneys at both Coos Bay and North Bend. This agreement, if authorized, will get entered on our side and then moves back over to Coos Bay. But the salient points of it is as follows. Coos Bay's responsibilities: submit a detailed proposal to North Bend outlining the proposed facility purchase, including its location, cost, intended use, and anticipated impact on the Coos Bay North Bend homeless population. B, obtain all necessary permits and approvals for the facility purchase and operation. C, develop and implement a plan for the operation of the facility that is consistent with the goals and objectives of the grant program and meets the needs of the homeless population. D, maintain separate accounting records for the allocated funds and provide North Bend with monthly financial reports detailing the receipt and disbursement of funds. E, ensure all expenditures of allocated funds comply with the terms of this intergovernmental agreement, the terms and provisions associated with the grant funds, and applicable federal and state laws. F, reimburse North Bend for any administrative costs incurred in managing the grant funds allocated to Coos Bay. Number 4, the allocated grant fund shall be solely used for the purchase of the facility, provide supportive services to homeless individuals within the greater, there's a typo in there, by the way, Coos Bay North Bend community, and any unused or unencumbered funds shall be returned to North Bend for reallocation in accordance with the grant agreement. 5, North Bend and Coos Bay shall cooperate in monitoring the use of the allocated grant funds and provide the Oregon OHCS with all necessary reports and information required by the grant funds. Subsequently, the 2 stipulations, I believe, Councilor Hamilton, you've got those in front of you. You're more than welcome to read those. Those are from the Office of Homelessness. And so I focused on the agreement from governing body to governing body. The actual House Bill 4123 pilot and the local planning group actually unanimously applied stipulations. The mayor and I are the North Bend representatives to that. That is representatives from Coos Bay, Coos County, North Bend, and it was a unanimous vote. But if the counselor wants to read those 2 stipulations that are highlighted, those come from a level higher than us, if you will, because the state has a contract with them and then has a contract with us as the fiscal agent.
Okay.
Yeah, those stipulations are, there'll be an agreement between Coos Bay and the Devereaux Center to clearly define ground rules and operating rules. And the other one is the Devereaux Center work collectively with Coos Bay to maximize the space that is not a deterrent to the city of Coos Bay. So I understand what everybody's saying here. Unless there's a change, there's not gonna be a change. And I would love to see, like Rob Taylor was saying with the Shutters Creek. I don't know how much of a reality that is.
0.
But I mean, we are where we're at, so.
So if it doesn't change.
So we're not taking public comment anymore. I appreciate it, but that portion is ended. So I've heard from Counselor Jones.
So-
Did you have anything else you wanted to add?
Yeah, so no, you do hold your county and your city officials accountable. Absolutely. We also agree to work collectively together. And we also agree to having teams focus on this as opposed to making it something in each council that's reviewed, because that maximizes the efficiency for both looking at the problem and finding solutions to the problems that we have. And we definitely have a problem with public safety around the Devereaux Center as it stands. You know, there's definitely enough collective information to show that. We can't make decisions for the city of Coos Bay, but our team, the county and 2 city team, can. And those stipulations that we're talking about are about operational changes so that absolutely unfettered behavior into what anyone wants to do is not how that center, the new center, goes. This is the best we can do, and it's a step forward. I believe it's a step forward. Now, if you want to, any of you are welcome to read our packets that we get, because it's a public meeting and because it's information in there. So you're welcome to read it, and it's big, it's voluminous, because this sits between individual rights and compassionate response to some. And we all know that some are taking advantage and some are not, right? So we want to tease that out. We want to be sure we're using our funds well. We want to be sure that we're not taking care of freeloaders. That's all real. And every single person in this room wants that. Now,
And I will believe it when I see it.
absolutely.
Counselor Jones, are you,
Absolutely.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
go ahead to any of the other,
Time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Counselor Garbo, did you have anything? Counselor Gall?
Well, the pack all that I know just says to vote no on, but I sat here and listened to Rob Taylor, the radio guy, and I think he made so much sense, it wasn't even funny, that this, you know, and I still I'm not a Devereaux Center fan. I'll go on the record saying that. And I still want to vote no, but after listening to Rob and he made sense. I you know, sometimes he gets a little hot-headed and I kind of like that. But anyway, you know, to a certain extent, I think what we're doing, and I've made this comment in this chair before, that I think if we get too much going on the homeless, all we're really doing is recruiting more homeless. And I think that's a mistake. So, that's all I got.
Counselor Schultz,
No comment.
okay, Counselor Nordoff,
A couple things. Yes, I would like to say that Drew Farmer actually spoke the truth. When the ordinances came down, when the rules came down from the state legislature, it did specify that you have to have a homeless camping ordinance where people are legally allowed to sleep and rest. And whether it's RVs, tents, cars, whatever, unless you have shelter space available, jurisdiction by jurisdiction. And that's in the state statute that came down. The other thing that I'm gonna say is when I worked for Stunster Engineering and Forestry, I did a redesign on a residential property that was way up right next door to Shutters Creek. And that is one nasty road to get up there. Twisty, turny, steep drop offs. And there's no way that I can see putting anything up at Shutters Landing because it is so inaccessible. Whether it's providing space, providing facilities, it's way out of there. And the third point I want to make is that when people become homeless, most of the time, the recent increase in homeless, and I will point this out, Jefferson Public Radio puts out a monthly or bi-monthly magazine. There is a write-up on the causes of the increase in homelessness. It is well worth everybody reading. I really learned a lot. It's a very well researched and written article. I spoke to this last night also. It's worth looking up. It really opened my eyes. And when the city of Portland, they had this idea that they were going to do away with the poor farms and with the housing that traditionally had been provided, just little rooms with common kitchen, common bathroom, this kind of thing. That's on the east side of Portland in the Gresham area, there was a very big facility that was built at the turn of the 1900s for the loggers and all these people who came in to take jobs in the growing city. The city during the 1960s and 70s took all those down with the plan that smaller little units were going to show up in the suburbs of Portland. And though that never happened, those were never built. So you then had a transition from places for homeless people to live, or people that were kind of low income people, places for them to be, to really not having those places available anymore. And it went from there. And now on the coast particularly, a lot of places are being taken off the rental market. I'm kind of speaking from my own observation, a few people who inherited their parents' small houses, they're not rental properties anymore, they're vacation rental by owner. And that limits the amount of rentals that are available in a county like Coos County. So the final thing I'll say is, it hurts when I see people on the street with all their possessions. How can that person go to a job interview where they're packing 20 pounds of gear? Maybe in a shopping cart, maybe on their back, you know, in their car. I don't know. It's just, I wouldn't last a week being homeless. There's no way. I really wouldn't. And the stress and the impacts on your brain, the impacts, children regress. They're no longer potty trained after a couple of weeks of being homeless. Young children. So there's a lot of bad things that happen inside a person when they become homeless and have that insecurity. So I guess what I'm saying, in fact, Steve Skinner came and presented a proposal to the homeless committee that had to do with Can't we provide some type of place for people to stash their goods so they can go to a job interview? That kind of thing, where they're not always packing everything they own everywhere. And I understand, you know, I understand it's a carrot and stick approach. I think that keeping it somewhere local and not way out at Shudner's Landing, I think that would be a huge mistake. And like I say, I hope, I agree with Matt and with other people here that I hope that the responsibility given to the Devereaux Center, I hope that they hold up their end of the bargain, because I think that's very important. And I think that the communities involved here, the cities and the county, feel that they can expect that if it doesn't make the standards, that changes will have to be made. I think that's everybody's expectation going into this. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for your comments. So I do want to remind the council what our task is here this evening. So our task isn't to discuss other options or where it should go, or if Shutter's Creek is an option. Although I do know from talking to the state that it's not an option, that isn't even something that would be a potential solution, but that's not what our task is. Our task is that the city of North Bend is we are a pass-through for the state funds. And our role is that we do have representatives from this council on the task force, along with the county and the city of North Bend. And so, you know, there is a role there, but that is not what this body here is to decide tonight, is what Coos Bay should or should not do with their resource navigation center in their town. Our role here is to, you know, the motion was to authorize the city administrator to execute an intergovernmental agreement with the city of Coos Bay. I heard a first and a second, and we had our discussion. So I'll go ahead and ask the question. All in favor to authorize the city administrator to execute an IGA with the city of Coos Bay for distribution of executive order number E023-02, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right. Next item of business then is number 6, which is the award of our Parks Master Plan project to HGE. We did have some information during the work session last night. And what is the motion of the council for item number 6? Is there a motion from the council?
I move to authorize staff to enter into a contract with HGE to complete the North Bend Park Master Plan for $86,150.
Okay, I heard a first from Councilor Schultz, a second from Councilor Hamilton. All in favor of the
Discussion.
we had a first, we had a second. Yes. What is the discussion? Do you want to, yeah, maybe we'll close those doors if it's, yeah. Is there, Councilor Nordock, did you have discussion?
Yes, so on page 78, my comment, I think this is all good and well that HGE gets the contract. My comment concerns, it suggested that each member of the city council appoint one city resident to serve on an ad hoc Parks Advisory Committee for calendar year 2024. The appointment could be made at the first council meeting in March 2024. My comment is that we currently have, at least on the city website, under the Parks Committee, there are 3 names there.
Start with those.
Pardon me?
I said, are you thinking start with those for the appointments?
I think that we could, I think personally, those people, of course, indicated an interest in the Parks Committee.
Start with those.
I think we should have 10 people on the Parks Committee, so we could each suggest one and include an additional 3 people, being those 3 people.
I'm willing to waive my being able to appoint somebody to take one of them already on.
Well, let's be clear what our task is here real quick though, because I don't think we're doing that yet. I hear what Councilor Nordoff is saying. We have 3 people on the Parks Committee. So in my mind, when I was reading that, I'm like, great, we'll definitely pick the people on the Parks Committee. We should actually, and we would move on to whoever else, but we're not in a position to be adding the 10, that's
At
not where
this
we're at.
time, you're absolutely correct. This is whether or not to award the Parks Master
Yeah.
Plan to HG.
So we'll get to that later. So really, I guess the task at hand is, is there a motion, was there discussion about the awarding of the grant? But I hear where you're going and that's a later point discussion. So is there any discussion on awarding the,
I had
HDO.
a question. It did not really specify whether or not there was going to be reference to the existing Parks Master Plan. And Steve Skinner spoke last night to the fact that he had worked at Brian Owen's request. He had amended the one that was approved back in 1999 or so. So I'm wondering, are they going to kind of build on the existing master plan? Because I went through. And
I don't think we're talking, but right now though, we're just looking at we're right now, the motion on the table is to award the contract to HGE. So we're not getting into the weeds of those things.
Yeah, Madam Mayor, out of fairness to the counselor. So there was a request for proposal. It was sent out. We did the vetting process. There's a scope of work and this is an award for that scope of work.
Okay, so is there any questions about the award for the scope of work? Or any more discussion? Okay, we had a first and a second. All in favor to authorize staff to enter into a contract with HGE Inc. to complete the North Bend Parks Master Plan for $86,114. Please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda, so that was 6, is number 7. This is authorization to purchase the Pista Grit replacement. Is there, no? Yeah. Yeah. Is there a motion from the council for line agenda item number 7?
I move to authorize staff to execute a purchase order agreement with Smith and Leffels for $67,956 for replacement of the Pista Grit system.
Heard a first from Counselor Jones, a second from Counselor Bowden. Any discussion? All in favor of the staff to recommend, all in favor for the staff recommendation that the city council authorize staff to execute a purchase order agreement with Smith and Leffels for $67,956 for the replacement Pista Grit systems. That's fun to say. Please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Authorization of Pista Grit. Number 8 is the authorization to pay the bill to repair the street department's tractor mower. Is there a motion from the
I
council?
move we authorize payment of $6,361.24 for the repair of the street department mower to LTM truck and RV repair.
Second.
Ooh, let's see. You think she was faster. First from Counselor Gall, second from Counselor Schultz.
That's a lot of reading. I had to take it short.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, and that was for the relief grade, right here, yes, we had the first, we had
So it was tractor mower.
tractor mower, sorry. We had a first from Counselor Schultz, a second from Counselor Gall, any discussion? And again, thank you, I was able to listen to all of this last night, all in favor of the city council. I'd asked and you didn't say anything, no discussion. No discussion. All in favor of the city council to authorize the payment of the $6,361.24 for the repair of the street department's tractor mower to LTM truck and RV repair, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. So that was 8. 9, request for relief from grade for the 3,500 block of Cedar Street.
I'll make a motion for the city council to approve a variance for establishment road grade for the 3,500 block of Cedar Street to allow us to
Second.
First from Counselor Hamilton, second from Counselor Jones. Any discussion? All in favor of the city council to approve a variance from establishment of road grade for the 3,500 block of Cedar Street to allow the development, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, number 10 is the action of any resulting from executive session. There is none. 11 is our city administrator's report. I believe we have a hard copy of the city administrator's report. Yeah, and
That's Eric Gleason back there.
Eric Gleason is here.
In the back.
Hey. Former Counselor Gleason will put a chair up here if you want to scooch on in.
Here, you can handle it.
Are you gonna handle the second?
You can have a second, and I'm freezing, so I could use some extra body heat up here right now.
All right, thank you, Madam Mayor and
Okay.
Council. The city administrator's report is online. You all have a copy. It's been distributed. Otherwise, couple things on Saturday, February 17th, Zipley Fiber will be sponsoring a free day of skating at the ice rink. So
Nice.
that'll be 11 to 3.
Is that our last?
The 18th is the last day. So this is free on Saturday from 11 to 3. We'd love to see everybody out there. Exciting day today. On the internet, you'll see a whole bunch of photos. We put into service unit 8307 from the fire department, the first rapid attack vehicle. So it has all of its decals, everything. And so the chief took some great photos, and then a couple of us went out and took some cool photos. But this is a new day in North Bend. It actually went out on its first official calls today. And so instead of the big trucks going out, this will be able to go out. And so we should get the second one in a couple weeks. We're going to see a lot of reductions in overall cost in the agency. I want to give a shout out to Patrick Myers Tree Service. They generously donated wood chips. And so over in Ferry Road Park, the Parks Department's been removing all the fallen and hazardous trees. And they redid the trails over there with the new chips. They've also, in collaboration with the Streets Department, Public Works, have worked on the Simpson Park Trail. There's a lot of downed trees and other risks over there from recent storms. That's all been taken care of. The police department, they have their Talk of the Town. It'll be held at the North Bend Senior Center. It's going to be on February 22nd, beginning at 11:45. So Chief Mitz will be given a short presentation about the department's accomplishments and goals. And the Public Works Department reports that we have been selected to present for the Simpson Park Multi-Use Trail Grant. And so we have an opportunity to make that presentation on February 29th. So fingers crossed. And that concludes my city administrator's report. Back to you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you so much. And I appreciate you always putting those out there online for us to share, and to people always looking for ways to find out what's going on with the city, and those city administrator reports are a great way to get a snapshot of each department. So appreciate that. Thank you. Number 12 on the list is committee reports. So I have a July Jubilee, or I have the events committee report from, I do, because this guy over here was on vacation. So his report was getting real tan.
Yeah.
Yes. I will, we've been meeting about every 2 weeks right now. And so we have a lot of documentation from past July Jubilees. And one of the things that we were looking at was they used to do the logo for the July Jubilee weekend was something that was a contest. And in February, they didn't call it a special events committee, but they had a July Jubilee committee that was made up of, residents and some staff members. And what they would do is that committee would pick a theme. So that's on our next agenda. So come ready with a theme. That committee would pick a theme, and then they would then put out information that says, here's our theme, here's the contest for a logo. And then they would submit the logo. And so what we're thinking is then we could either have that committee select the logo or come back to the council. We haven't really quite sorted out like the next step, but I love the community involvement with that. So we're just kind of going through the motions with coming up with our part, the theme, and then figuring out a way to like push that back out as a contest to the residents in the community. So you like that idea?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where we're at now, and just still kind of sorting out some of the details. There is a potential applicant that could be hired to be the connector of all this, and we're in the process of that right now. So no decision has been made.
Do you have a Main Street board yet? Have you been there?
Yes. Had I not reported out on that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought we did.
Yeah.
JB, you were gone.
Just repeat that.
But yeah, the Main Street Board has decided that it actually will be kind of one of the kickoffs of the weekend would be a sip and stroll. And then there's going to be like an after stroll event in the event tent. Yes, that's okay. Yeah, so it's just moving along, and I would suspect in the next 2 weeks, we'll have a lot more to report out too. And then probably some details of what that contest for the theme for that weekend would be. So that is my committee report. I'm not seeing any other committee reports. Okay, council comments. Councilor Nordoff, we'll start with you down here.
I sure would like to still see the national, what is it, the National Night Out
Oh,
for the police. I enjoyed it when we had it. It's been some time now since we haven't had it. Maybe there could be some movement in that direction. That's all I've got to say.
Okay, Councilor Schultz.
I think the past 2 nights just made me realize that, again, a lot of information is hard to get to, and understanding it is really complex, especially the idea of homelessness. And again, I think our job is not to solve homelessness. Our job is to help other people, or again, be part of this, the chain of events that will help the homelessness become less and less. And so again, I just think that I heard a lot of people, and a lot of people are still confused by what's happening. And again, I get it because it is like a multi-layer committee and systems. And so I think that it's great that people came, and I hope that they look and research and they talk to, again, potentially checking into the homeless response committee, or again, the homeless task force, and having those clarifications as they move on. I also want to say that Packall had a birthday and he's a grandpa again.
Yeah.
So congratulations.
Pops.
Double.
2 boys.
Yeah, 2 boys. Anyway, I think, I like the way you touched on what we've done the last 2 nights. I guess in December, I won't have to worry about this stuff anymore, but I've always been a North Bend Marshfield rival, and it's kind of nice to have them more in the hot seat than us. But anyway, for a positive thing, we got, a week and a half until we got the 3A basketball tournament coming.
Yeah, exciting.
Our family and the Herbley family deeply sponsor a team every year, and our team has won the state the last 2 years, and we've been to a game or so of their regular season just to support them, and they're looking pretty good. So anyway, that's 3A basketball tournament, and she kind of touched on it last night. It brings a ton of money into the area. It costs me a ton of money, but anyway, it's a great deal, and you'll see some really good basketball, and I hope we win again.
Yeah. Okay. Nothing from Councilor Garbo. Councilor Hamilton.
Yeah, to touch on what Barb talked about, you sit up here, you try and come up with your head all day long on what you want to talk about. You get to when it's your turn to talk, and then but a couple things that people want to hear, but that Measure 110 has not helped this whole system at all. Funding for our jail hasn't helped the whole system. Coming here screaming at us, and we're a pass through, and we feel your pain with everybody in this whole boat of what we have now and trying to fix this problem or help people fix the problem. I want to just thank the people that I've contacted and talked with about, and I'm not real good at the public side of speaking, but once I get you on the cell phone, I got you wrapped up for about an hour.
I can contest to that.
I'm just really grateful for the city of North Bend, the police chief, fire chief, Rel. It's just great to be able to reach out to these people and get the information you need, answer questions. It makes life so much easier. And I know I've been the people in the hot seat before in the crowd, wanting to come to city council meetings and scream at everybody, and I know everybody's heard it before, but when you're up here and you start looking at the political side and what this takes to make happen, it's more than what you think. And it actually takes a big group of us here to come up with an answer and how we feel and how we think. And I'm just grateful for the committee to be all one team. So, and our city manager. So, thank you.
No, thank you. Counselor Jones?
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about that as well. So we live in a town that's small enough that I think every single one of us in this room has seen both transients that we've never seen and the same homeless people. I know I'm over by Boynton Park, and I found out probably 6 years ago that a clearly homeless man has been homeless. His family's in town. He's got a lot of problems, and he's been that way for 20 years. So I don't think there's a single street or a single neighborhood in our town or in Coos Bay probably that we can't see it on our back doors. And there's no easy answer to this because it's in the crosshairs of living in a society where we prioritize individual rights. We also prioritize property rights. We don't have a system where we can just transport any person we want to another place, to a jail or something. The only types of governments where that happens are a theocracy or a dictatorship, one of these fake president things, so it brings out both the best and the worst in trying to figure out how to deal with these problems. So I really appreciate, and I have only learned this just from getting involved in the city government opportunities that are out there. I mean, there are volunteer opportunities. You don't have to be elected to find out how the city works. And it's only through that interaction that I've learned about the amazing teamwork that seems really central in North Bend, but that's being passed out into Coos Bay and the county and other places because of the emphasis on collaborating with other people. Every time I come and sit in a meeting here, I will hear of another instance of where our police department or our fire department or one of our departments are not only working with each other, but reaching out to their peers in other places. So this level of collaboration is just so far beyond anything that I've ever worked in. And I've worked in very large companies and very tiny companies. So I deeply appreciate the emphasis that our staff members put on collaborating, not collaborating with themselves, with their peers in other departments, and with their peers outside of our organization. So it's just amazing. Thank you all for your service.
Yeah. All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate all of your leadership tonight when we're going through this. It's not, I was listening yesterday, so I apologize I couldn't be here, but it is difficult to receive the feedback like that, and especially in a public comment setting. We're here to run, tonight is our business meeting. Last night was our work session. We have our council rules and our charter rules for a reason, and it's to run efficient public meetings. So it's not helpful to have people yelling things out, from the audience or from the back room. And so I know sometimes it probably looks like, oh gosh, you're so cold-hearted. Well, that's not really efficient to be able to get clear feedback, understand what people are saying, and be able to respond to them. So it's always a little bit painful. And I'm glad, I had started reading that public comment phase about how this is not a time for us to have dialogue with you, to comply with open meeting laws. And I remember when I first became a mayor and worked through the city administrator with saying that, I'm like, I want to figure out a way to say this, because I remember coming to a council meeting and saying, why aren't they saying anything back? Why aren't they answering those questions?
Yes.
Because we apparently need to have a conversation with one of our commissioners about why Shutters Creek isn't available. It was shocking to me. And that's not a time for us to answer those questions, but we know that we have them. And so we keep track of that with our city recorder or city administrator, and we can then put out and follow up with some of these individuals, and we will, to answer some of those questions. So the reason why this is so difficult is because it's difficult. This is when you intertwine crime and drugs and homelessness and the mental health crisis that we're in. If there was an easy solution, it would be fixed. But that's not what our task was here tonight, is to fix that. And we want to be good neighbors to the city of Coos Bay, but it's also not our business to be telling them how to run their navigation center. Just when we were coming up with our time, place, and manner, we didn't want a bunch of people from other governing bodies telling us exactly what we should do. That will work itself out. And I am very thankful for the stipulations that we have in there about the pass-through of the money and what those are, because I do think that that will help with maybe some of the issues that they're going to. But this tonight was not about, do we approve of the project? Do we like the executive director or any of that? It was an intergovernmental agreement. And I'm happy to sit down with anybody who emails us or has a phone call, because it is complicated and we can walk anybody through that. So congratulations, Grandpa. I wanted to make sure that I also said that as well. Lots of other activities. We got the basketball tournament coming up. We had our North Bend High School wrestlers perform in districts. Do they perform? They match. They participated. So the wrestlers, Chris, do you know how they did? Anyone?
I think 7 qualified for state. Yeah.
So we have 7 qualifiers for state. And then
They performed well.
they performed well. They performed well. So we got a bunch of kids going to state for wrestling. We have another, I think, 9 swimmers. I love this. I get to be a swim mom now, by the way, which is a lot warmer than sitting on the track field at North Bend, which I swear to God is the coldest place in this entire earth, is that North Bend track field. So that was like last Thursday and Friday were the district track meet for North Bend High School kids. Every interaction that I had with a coach, an adult, or a kid, they all say this is their favorite place to go for meets. I like it because I'm freezing all the time and it's actually warm in there. And so I don't know if that's why they like it. They had plate, the food truck was outside helping out the kids. Make sure that they had plenty of energy to eat. We had South Coast Aquatic Team was selling these freeze-dried Skittles that Chef Murphy at North Bend High School made. So it was like really cool. Like he's helping them with their fundraiser. Those kids are learning something. So I love to see that collaboration with all the teams. So state swimming and wrestling off to state. So I'm sure they'll be looking for maybe a police escort out of town when that happens. Yeah. On Thursday. Something that I'm doing with my students at SWAC, I'm the business club advisor there, and every year we do our teddy bear toss, and we collect new stuffed animals. Then we throw them out at the Laker game. Incredible basketball to watch, by the way. 2 o'clock on Saturday, women's play. 4 o'clock is when the men's play. We do this thing where we collect these stuffed animals. Cardinal Service is a drop-off site. Banner Bank is a drop-off site. Bay Area Hospital, or you can call it me, and I'll make sure your bear gets to the teddy bear toss. And we throw them out. We collect them all, and then those stuffed animals. The Kids Hope Center sees around, I think they have 400 cases of child abuse each year. We have a very high rate of child abuse in Coos County, and those 400 people usually have a witness friend that has to be interviewed as well. So they go through about 800 stuffed animals. So if you find yourself out, and we have it this time of year, because if you find yourself out the day after Valentine's Day and you see a stuffed animal half off, snag it and you can donate it to me and I'll make sure it gets to the Kids Hope Center. Lastly, I wanted to make an announcement that we had our 4th Walk with the Mayors here in North Bend on Monday. So we've been alternating back between Coos Bay and North Bend. The mayor of Coos Bay and I invited the mayor of Coquille to join us. That means that Joan Benetti and I might need to go walk the 100-acre wood in Coquille. I think we might have committed to that. But again, we're trying to be good neighbors with our other elected bodies. We're trying to foster that relationship. And of course, I just like walking and being outside. The next one will be in Coos Bay in March. So we'll let you know the date of that. And you're all welcome to come at any time, each and every one of you. So those are my announcements that I wanted to make. I have another item. I have council business or other business. Okay. So number 14 on the agenda is other business. And what that other business is I have received some information, and you guys have an email in front of you from Operation Rebuild Hope. And what it is that they're reaching out to ask for support for our mission to help homeless veterans in Coos County. And as a nonprofit veteran organization, Operation Rebuild Hope is the largest transitional housing site for homeless veterans on the Oregon coast. And in a nutshell, just to sort of summarize that, what they're saying here is they're asking for support for Senate Bill 1530, which is housing and development. And the goal is to provide the safe and stable environment for homeless veterans. And the project is to complete the den. And it's about 50 or 60% the way finished, and they need some more funds. So they're looking for either a letter of support for us to have them seek funding to finish that project, or potentially maybe even like a live testimony that I could give. So I'm coming to you to say that I think is great. I think we should support it. And if you would give me authorization to work with the city administrator for either a letter of support for them to seek funding. It's no money on us. We're just saying we believe in supporting veterans. We believe in lobbying for some of this money.
You need a motion?
I'm looking for a motion.
I make a motion that mayor, along with the city manager, write a letter or appear in person to support Operation Rebuild Hope on SB 1530.
Thank you. First from Councilor Hamilton, second from Councilor Garbodin. Any discussion?
Yeah, I voted against this thing when it first came up and that project. I'm not bad mouthing the veterans, but that project, the way it was set up to start with, has been nothing but a fiasco. And so I don't know if it's different now. I don't know who.
That's under new leadership.
But that project, I voted against it the first time and it's proved to be, when I voted against it, I asked you guys to prove me wrong and you haven't done it yet. That's been a fiasco. So I hope you're on the right track this time, or they are. Sorry, they are.
To respond to Councilor Gold, as far as I know, and I was informed, the leadership has changed. So
Well, it had to.
It's under a new direction, as far as I know.
That's true. It's a true statement. Yeah. Councilor Nordoff?
We're not talking about Brian's home, we're talking about the
den.
hotel next door.
Correct.
To the north of it.
Yeah.
It sure looks a lot better than it did.
This is true. And they need some funding to finish the other half. So yeah, so this is not about us giving money, but we're saying this would be good if this was complete.
Yes.
And we would support them seeking funds. So who was the first from Councilor? Hamilton, and the second from Councilor Garbodin. We had our discussion. Any other comments? All in favor of the motion of Councilor Hamilton, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Prove me wrong. That's what I want to see.
We have no opposed and one prove you wrong. Yeah.
Put it down as a yes, but
Okay.
I'm hoping you prove me
Yeah.
wrong.
Yeah, I'm hoping, yeah. Okay, first, second, approved, motion passes. Thank you. Okay, so now that is the end of our council meeting.
Is there any other business?
That was the other business. So I can adjourn the council meeting and then we'll move into URA. So how about 3 minutes?
3.
Okay, so council adjourned, 3-minute recess until we begin the Urban Renewal Agency meeting. Renewal Agency meeting here in one moment. Did the heat down? Okay. Welcome to the North Bend Urban Renewal Agency meeting, Tuesday, February 13th at 7 p.m. Say 34 here in the council chambers. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. Is there any public comment? No public comment. Is there a motion to approve the URA minutes?
I make a motion to approve the URA minutes for January 23rd, 2024.
Okay. First from Commissioner Hamilton, second from Garboden. Commissioner Garboden, any discussion? All in favor to approve the URA minutes from January 23, 2024, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Number 5 is the facade, nope.
4.
Nope, 4. Number 4 is the acknowledgement of the bills for January of 2024. Is there a motion?
I move to pay the bill.
Okay, I heard it first from,
Wait, this is a question, procedural question.
Yes.
So when we're acknowledging the bills that we paid, do we have to move to acknowledge them?
so,
Normally, we're working on some things, but this goes back to some discussion, but as soon as you get a first and second, I'll answer the rest.
okay.
Second.
We had a first to pay the bills from Commissioner Gall, a second to pay the bills from Counselor Schultz, Commissioner Schultz, and is there a second?
That was.
Okay, there's a first, and a second, is there discussion? Okay, our discussion.
So, Madam Commissioner, to answer your question, so if we wait until the council and the UR meetings, we go into fall. And so we came before the council and said, for full transparency, we need to pay the bill so that we don't incur late fees and otherwise. And so normally we would have a consent agenda where the minutes and the bills would be on there. But then we give a full accounting of those in there. When the auditors then go back and they're looking, they want to know whether or not you, with your fiduciary responsibility, are cognizant of where we're spending the money. And so this is why it remains that it comes before you. And yes, you're absolutely right. It's like, well, sorry, we've already paid it. But we've done so. Exactly.
So we need that.
So
That's fine. Thank you.
We've acknowledged the bills.
Thank you, Bill.
So
All in favor?
all in favor of the acknowledgement of the bills, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Number 5, facade improvement grant application. Mr. Executive Director of the URA, would you like to talk to us about this?
This is the Liberty Theater, home of the Little
Oh, yeah.
Theater of the Bay. They have put in for a grant not to exceed $25,000 on behalf of the URA. They are a historic site, so they actually have to adhere to the Department of Interior, U.S. Parks guidelines for historic buildings. And so we will be finishing out the accounting on the blade side. There will be a limited amount of money left over. And we anticipate that the state's going to allow us to apply that. But their total cost for the stucco is about $80,000. And it has to match the rest of the building. And so they have put in for the grant application, asking if the URA will help assist and offset that cost. And the liability to the URA would be not to exceed $25,000.
Okay, is there a motion from the council or from the URA?
I'll make a motion to approve the application of authorized funds not to exceed $25,000 for facade improvement project at 2100 Sherman Avenue. Second.
First from Counselor Hamilton, second from Counselor Garboden. Any commissioner? Thank you.
Whatever.
Any discussion? All in favor of the motion on the table, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay. That was 5. Number 6 is the executive director's report.
A couple of things. The Tin Rooster Coffee Shop and Roastery has been doing wonderful. It is open. And so we're excited about that. That is a URA building with some renovations. We continue, of course, it was a blighted building. We actually understand that. We are still addressing some of the blight. Most recently, it's on the facade, but we're making good way there. But the coffee shop, the roastery is open. In fact, a lot of the old staff is back as well, so that's exciting. The North 40 Beer Company, same thing. They're finishing up. Their contractors got to get done because they've got to get down to Bandon for another big project down there. But they have gone ahead and posted for all of the jobs. Right now, they have all of their jobs posted. So servers, bartenders, servers, cooks, head chefs, all of that. My wife and I went to Roseburg and visited their existing site. And in fact, somebody else just did that recently. Some friends of ours, because I saw them tag. So I've been saying February. We may push it into March, primarily because of the facade issues. We're going to restore the front. We actually have historical photos out of our North Bend history books. And so because of the extent of some of the dry rot, yes, it makes sense to try to do it and do it right all at once. And so I think you're going to see it brought back to some of its original glamour. And then last but not least, the 2023 annual report for the Urban Renewal Agency. We distributed that online in your boxes. Give great kudos to our Chief Financial Officer, Jeff Bridgens. In fact, one of the lead URA consultants in the state gave us high marks and kudos and says, gosh, I wish all URAs put in as much detail as you all did in yours. And so they were very appreciative of our report and holding it up as an example to other URAs that's what you should do. So with that, thank you, Jeff, for all of your hard work on that. Back to you.
Great, thank you. I think that was the last item of business, right, on the URA. But before I hit that gavel, I'm going to take a point of privilege and say one more thing on our recorded meeting, because when I was listing off the wrestlers and the swimmers and everybody going to state, the cheer team took fourth at state. So I just want to make sure that I say that publicly, because I want to congratulate all winners, just like the Super Bowl. I wanted them all to win. So meeting adjourned.